Imagine a war so famous that people are still talking about it more than 3,000 years later. A war filled with legendary heroes, powerful kings, angry gods, epic battles, and one of the most famous military tricks in history, the Trojan horse. This is the story of the Trojan War. Our story begins in the ancient world, long before the rise of Rome. Greece was not a single country at the time, but a collection of independent kingdoms ruled by different kings. Across the Aegean Sea stood the wealthy city of Troy, located near modern-day Turkey. Thanks to its strategic location and control of important trade routes, Troy became rich, powerful, and influential. According to Greek mythology, the war began with an argument among the gods. At a wedding attended by many divine beings, the goddess of discord, Eris, threw a golden apple into the crowd. Written on the apple were the words, "For the fairest." Three goddesses immediately claimed it: Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Unable to decide who deserved the apple, the gods chose a Trojan prince named Paris to judge the contest. Each goddess tried to win his favor with a special gift. Hera promised him power and authority. Athena promised wisdom and victory in battle. Aphrodite offered something different: the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose Aphrodite. Unfortunately, the most beautiful woman in the world was Helen, and she was already married to Menelaus, the king of Sparta. Soon afterward, Paris traveled to Sparta and returned to Troy with Helen. Depending on the version of the story, she either willingly left with him or was kidnapped. Either way, Menelaus was furious. He called upon the other Greek kings to honor an old oath they had sworn to protect Helen's marriage. His brother, Agamemnon, one of the most powerful rulers in Greece, gathered a massive army. Hundreds of ships crossed the sea toward Troy, beginning a conflict that would supposedly last 10 years. As the war unfolded, several legendary heroes emerged. On the Greek side, the greatest warrior was Achilles. He was famous for his incredible fighting abilities and was considered nearly unbeatable in battle. Alongside him was Odysseus, a king known not for extraordinary strength but for intelligence, creativity, and clever problem-solving. On the Trojan side stood Hector, the eldest son of Troy's king and the city's greatest defender. Unlike many warriors seeking glory, Hector fought mainly to protect his family, his people, and his home. Because of this, he became one of the most respected figures in the entire story. For years, the Greeks laid siege to Troy. Battle after battle was fought outside the city's enormous walls. The Greeks could not force their way into the city, while the Trojans could not completely drive the invaders away. The war seemed trapped in a stalemate. Then a conflict broke out among the Greek leaders. After an argument with Agamemnon, Achilles became angry and refused to fight. Without their greatest warrior, the Greeks began to struggle. One day, Achilles' close friend Patroclus decided to enter battle wearing Achilles' armor. His hope was that the Trojans would believe Achilles had returned and retreat in fear. The plan worked at first, but during the fighting, Hector confronted Patroclus and killed him. When Achilles learned of his friend's death, he was overcome with grief and rage. He returned to the battlefield determined to take revenge. The two greatest warriors of the war, Achilles and Hector, finally faced each other in single combat. The duel became one of the most famous moments in all of mythology. Achilles defeated Hector, dealing a devastating blow to Troy. Yet, even after losing their greatest defender, the Trojans continued to resist. The city still stood, protected by its powerful walls. As the years passed, the Greeks realized that strength alone would not win the war. They needed a different approach. This is where Odysseus came up with a brilliant plan. The Greeks constructed a gigantic wooden horse and secretly hid a group of soldiers inside it. The rest of the army then appeared to abandon the war, sailing away from Troy and leaving the horse behind. The Trojans looked out from their walls and saw what seemed to be a miracle. Their enemies were gone. Believing the horse was a gift and a symbol of victory, they brought it inside the city. That night, while the people of Troy celebrated the end of the war, the hidden Greek soldiers climbed out of the horse. They quietly opened the city gates. Meanwhile, the Greek fleet had only pretended to leave and was waiting nearby. The army returned under cover of darkness, entered the city through the opened gates, and finally captured Troy. After 10 years of war, however, the end of the war did not bring happiness to most of the survivors. Many Greek heroes faced difficult journeys home. The most famous was Odysseus, whose long voyage became the subject of the epic story known as the Odyssey. According to legend, it took him another 10 years to return to his kingdom. The Trojan survivors scattered across the ancient world. Later legends even claim that some of them went on to found new civilizations. One famous Roman tradition connected the origins of Rome to refugees who escaped from Troy after the city's destruction. Today, historians still debate how much of the story is true. Most of what we know comes from ancient poems such as the Iliad, traditionally attributed to the poet Homer. These works were written centuries after the events they describe and combine history with mythology. Archaeologists have discovered the ruins of a city believed to be ancient Troy, and evidence suggests that it was destroyed and rebuilt several times throughout history. This means there may have been a real conflict that inspired the legend, even if the gods, heroes, and giant wooden horse belong more to myth than to history. Whether entirely true or partly fictional, the story of the Trojan War has survived for thousands of years because it explores timeless themes: love, pride, ambition, revenge, sacrifice, and the consequences of human choices.